Hi, hi. Happy Saturday. I am taking the weekend with the kids. We are down at a family property off the coast of Fort Myers, and it's a quick trip. It was a couple-hour drive. We'll be here till late Sunday night. Oh, it has been so relaxing. And as you can see, the weather's been amazing. And even this Florida girl has not seen a lot of sun lately. And so our time in the sun today has left us all very sun-kissed. Okay, so today we're reading Psalm 37. Before we dive in, if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, do me a favor, stop this recording, go read Psalm 37, and then join me back here so that we can discuss just how the Lord spoke through the word today for both of us. And as I dive in, I can't help but think of the movie Aladdin when I think of Psalms 37. This is not my first time reading through the Bible from cover to cover. It's not even my second time, but I can almost guarantee the first time I read Psalm 37, the verse that stuck out to me was verse 4 that says, "Delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart." And y'all, if I'm being very transparent, when I first read that verse, it was extremely clear to me that when you delight yourself in the Lord, that he's going to give you what you ask. And I was just like on a mission to make sure I was delighting in the Lord. I was doing what he was asking because make no mistake, I had a lot of things on my list I would love that the Lord would give to me and make my reality, I guess you could call it. Here's what's interesting. The more and more I have learned to delight in the Lord, the more and more I've spent time in his word, the more and more I've just spent time in his presence in nature, serving him, maybe in worship, just the more I delight in him, the things that he loves, the things that he's created. You know what's happened? It's not like he looked at my wish list and started checking them off. Okay, I'll go ahead and give her that now. She spent this many hours with me. She has shown, that she loves me and that her trust is it. No, 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 no. Here's what's interesting, and this happens for each one of us. The more we spend time with the Lord, the more our desires become like His. So then our desires are things He longs to give us. Why? Because they're His desires for us. And we grow in His likeness the more time we spend with Him. Let me put it this way. Do you remember when you were growing up and you had like a best friend and y'all would use the same words, or all of a sudden you might start dressing the same, you have the same preferences, you like to do the same things? That's what happens when we spend time with the Lord. The more time we spend with him, the more time we delight in him, his presence, his creation, y'all, the more our desires are shaped to what his desires are for us. It just becomes very natural. Well, here's the deal. That wasn't what the Lord highlighted to me today. It was as if the Lord gave me an image, a vision as I was reading his word today. And I'm so excited to share it with you. And, you know, maybe you are a parent, maybe it's your hope to become a parent. And if not, it's very likely you have a relationship with a parent or with somebody who is a parent figure to you. That is the image the Lord gave me as I read today. And again, so many things stood out to me. I was able to encourage a handful of people that I am walking through life with right now, some difficult things, whether they're walking with me through my stuff or whether I'm walking with them. There was so much encouragement today in the word. I just love when the Lord does that. But let me just point out what the Lord kind of spoke through the word for me today. All right, so it's verses 23 and 24. It says, "The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fail, for the Lord holds them by the hand." Okay, so that certainly caught my attention. And if you've been reading the word with me for any length of time, one thing you'll know to be true about me is I love to kind of read it in different translations. And so as I look at those verses 23 and 24, I'm going to look in a couple other translations than what I just read to you. And I read to you in the NLT, the New Living Translation. But what I'd like to do is just kind of briefly share how it's worded in a couple other translations. The Good News translation, the Lord guides us in the way we should go and protects those of us who please him. If they fall, they will not stay down because the Lord will help them up. Immediately, I had a picture of when my kids were little and we would walk hand in hand. Maybe we were crossing a street, maybe we were just downtown, or maybe we were at Disney and we're holding hands and they're new to walking, right? So they might trip a little or they might get excited and move a little too fast, and you kind of grab them by the hand and you pick them up and keep them from falling. Or if they fall, you're there to pick them up. You are with them and you are not going to let them stumble. This is what I love about the Good News translation said in verse 24, if they fall, they will not stay down because the Lord will help them up. When I think of if they fall, they will not stay down. Again, the Lord gave me the word picture of me walking with my children when they were early on in their, learning to walk or even starting to jog a little. My niece is doing that right now. She's just adorable. And it's like, how did she get so good at walking so fast? But again, she gets ahead of herself and she'll sometimes fall. And we're like, oh, you're okay. Get back up. That whole response so that they don't cry, especially if they scratch their knee a little bit or it surprises them or hurts them. That's what I saw as I was reading the word this morning. It was like, though he fall, he shall not be cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. When he falls down, he will not stay down because the Lord is the one who holds his hand and sustains him. If we were left to our own devices, we would stumble and we wouldn't get back up, y'all. We'd stay there, but we're not. Though we may fall, he shall not allow us to be down long, for the Lord upholds us with his hand. If we stumble badly, this is what the Passion Translation says, if we stumble badly, we will still survive. That means we can fall really badly, y'all. Maybe you haven't been walking with the Lord for very long. Maybe you have yet to give your life to Christ. But what this tells me is nothing we can do will separate us from his love. Nothing we can do will be so far of a fall that he will not be right there with us and helping us make it through. And so the easy translation says, if we ever trip, if we get tripped, we will not fall because the Lord is holding our hand. Can you see why the Lord gave me that image? The Lord gave me that image before I started looking in other translations. And gosh, it says, though he may stumble, he will not fall because he's right there with us. That doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen. That doesn't mean that we're not going to do things that cause us to stumble that are self-inflicted. Sometimes it's because it's others inflicted, people we're choosing to spend time with. That's why, gosh, it's so important that the people that we are choosing to spend time with, the people that we spend the greatest amount of our time with, it's so important that they are like us. I know and believe so wholeheartedly that when the Bible says do not be unequally yoked, he's not saying to not be around people that need the gospel, people that need the good news. He's saying our best time, like iron sharpens iron. And so we want to make sure the people we're spending the most time with are those that are going to sharpen us and help us to be better, not cause us to fall and stumble. And so I had the image of a parent, but it might be just somebody you're doing life with closely. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a dear friend. It shouldn't be somebody that causes you to stumble. It should be somebody that is holding you in such a way that the Lord is holding you, right? That the Lord is in the midst of that relationship. And so that was such a cool thing for me today. Again, I need to hear that sometimes. I'm really hard on myself, especially when I'm nowhere near where I want to be in all areas of my life. And I may never get there, but y'all, the more time I spend with the Lord, I love the reminder of probably what stood out to me not even a year ago, or the last time I read through this, which would have been 3 years ago, because we're on the pace at one chapter a day to read the Bible in 3 years and 2 months about. But that's not the point. The point is that, when we're younger in our faith, we think like a child, but as we grow in our faith, we put our childish thinking aside. And when I first read Psalms 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Oh, make no mistake. I saw that as like, okay, I just need to spend time with the Lord. Okay. Like I just need to delight myself in him and the things that he cares about, and he's going to give me what I want. Not quite. And yes, he is a pretty amazing God. Just like we as parents, if we as parents can give our own children good gifts, if we as our own children, or we as parents are going to be there when our kids stumble, whether it's the that image of a child that's learning to walk or early in its understanding of walking and maybe even starting to jog, and we're or like they're kids in our home and they make mistakes. I always tell my kids, I want you to be able to start exercising your decision making freedoms. And again, just because they're 16 and driving doesn't mean they can just go do whatever they want. Kind of we have guardrails in place. But as they get older and they start getting to a place where they're no longer going to be in the home, I want them to, if they're going to slip and stumble and make mistakes, I want them to do it within the safety of our home, because I want to be there with them to pick them up when they fall. And if we, as human parents, as imperfect parents, do that with our own children, how much more is our Father, who is perfect, going to do those things for us? It's just the whole idea of it just couldn't feel more loving, more kind. And I'm just so thankful to have a father who loves me like that. And yeah, anyways, I hope you're having a great Saturday. I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow. And yes, I'll be in this beautiful location down off of the coast of Fort Myers, and I'll have to get a different background. I'm rocking on one of the front porches right now. I love to rock. It makes me feel like I'm in the arms of my loving father, being rocked because he loves me so much. And that's kind of how I felt today as I was reading Psalms 37, specifically verses 23 and 24. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do our little talk today from the rocking chair on the front porch, because when I rock, I feel like my daddy's holding me, my Abba daddy. And that's the kind of comfort I got today as I read the word. So can't wait to hear how that might have spoke to you. So make sure you leave me a comment. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. And if somebody came to mind while we were sitting here chatting today, go ahead and share this with them in hopes that they start reading one chapter of the Bible a day with us. And I can promise you this, if you get in the word consistently each day, just one chapter a day, very simple discipline, not a huge undertaking. I can't tell you how the Lord's going to change your life, but I can guarantee he will.